please put yourself on mute unless you are speaking. And we're calling this meeting to order at 6 p.m. We are currently live streaming this meeting on the city's YouTube channel and the Lake County PEG TV live stream YouTube channel. To begin, can I please have roll call?
Chair Wilson.
Here.
Vice Chair Coker.
Here.
Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Commissioner McCarrick.
Present.
Thank you. It's now time for the Pledge of Allegiance. For all those present, please stand. And Vice Chair Robert Coker, will you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This is the time for the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move to adopt the agenda.
No,
Thank you.
second.
Do I have a second? Thank you for the second. May I have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Stewart.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner McCarrick.
Aye.
Vice Chair Coker.
Aye.
Chair Wilson.
Aye. Thank you. This is the time, we're now at public comment. This is the time for any member of the public to address the Planning Commission on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the commission or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The commission cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on the next available agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. For any public comments in the chambers by phone or via Zoom. Do we have any public comments in the chambers?
There are none.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments in Zoom or on the phone?
There are none.
Thank you. I will now take a motion to adopt the consent items. Adopt the consent items.
I move to adopt consent items, item number 1.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. May I have a roll call vote to accept the consent items?
Commissioner Stewart.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner McCarrick.
Aye.
Vice Chair Coker.
Aye.
Chair Wilson.
Aye. Thank you. We're now at the public hearing part of our Planning Commission meeting. Item number 1 is the consideration of conditional use permit, CUP 2022-17, and associated environmental filing, categorical exemption, CE 2022-25, to allow alcoholic beverage sales, on-site consumption of beer, wine, and distilled spirits at an existing restaurant, La Chilanguita Mexican Restaurant, located at 15165 Lakeshore Drive. May we have the staff report?
Yes, you may. Give me 1 second to pull up the PowerPoint, and then I'll pass the presentation to Assistant Planner Mike Taylor.
Thank you, Planning Commissioners and members of the public. This is a presentation for alcoholic beverage sales, which includes beer, wine, and distilled spirits. The applicant currently has a Type 41 ABC approved by Alcoholic Beverage Control Department. They're currently approved for just beer and wine. They are now seeking a license Type 47, which would include distilled spirits. They currently operate a restaurant. The name is La Chilanguita, located on Lakeshore Drive. They consider it a family restaurant. They're not going to have any bar service there. And the restaurant currently has a drive-through, but it's not in operation, which is somewhat significant in terms of the parking standards, which is usually higher for a drive-through. Their operation hours are 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. So basically they're going to be serving just lunch and dinner. We did calc the parking for a restaurant with drive-through, which is a little bit more conservative in terms of the spaces per, space per square footage, which is essentially 1 per 60 square feet. Their building is currently at approximately 3,000 square feet, so that equates to about 50 parking spaces. And they do not plan any building improvements. With regard to the parking, they do have a grant deed easement, which gives them perpetual rights for ingress, egress, and parking on the adjacent parcel. Otherwise, if they didn't have, they would not be able to meet their parking standards. Next slide, please. So this is just some aerial shots of the location. On the left, it's located off Lakeshore Drive. So the little yellow dot right there. There is Redbud Park, which is about 1,000 feet to the left. You can see it there on the far left edge of the image. And then Highway 53 is on the far right. It's kind of that yellow stripe that goes up and down north-south. There is a church that is about 400 feet to the north as the crow flies. So, I mean, if you were to actually drive that route, it'd probably be more like 600-800 feet drive time or drive distance. On the right side is just a blow up of the actual site where the yellow dot is. You can see it's right in the parking lot. To the right of the yellow dot is the actual building where they're currently operating the restaurant. You can see there's a drive-through that wraps around on the east side and comes out onto Lakeshore Drive. To the left, the kind of L-shaped parcel is there additional parking. Both parcels combined allow for approximately 50 parking spaces. Plus they have, in addition to that, 88 spaces, 3 of those. This is just an APN map of the location. Next. This is a map showing the zoning. They are zoned general commercial. It's where the little black dot is. To the south of that is low-density residential. To the north across Lakeshore Drive is general commercial. Beyond that is basically medium-density residential and mixed use. You can see where Redbud Park is to the left, and then to the right is a mixture of low-density residential and commercial. Neither the low-density residential or the mixed use or medium-density residential, but the site or the project area. Yeah. Zoning conformance, so chapter 18, section 18-18 use regulations, which define what uses can go in the commercial zone. They are allowed by conditional use permit. 1819, section 1819, special use allowed in several zones defines the alcoholic beverage regulations, which they're all in compliance with. CEQA environmental analysis, staff considered this as a categorical exemption because it's taking place in an existing facility and the applicant has not proposed any major changes to the site, no changes at all, actually. Conditions of approval, the application is conditioned based on section 1819, special uses for alcoholic beverages. That's in the conditions of approval, along with general conditions that we typically put into conditions of approval related to environment, aesthetics, geology, and those sorts of things. But those probably do not apply, but they are there just in case because they're not doing any major changes to the site. So you have 3 motions, Planning Commission. You can move to adopt Resolution PC 2024, a resolution of the City of Clearlake Planning Commission approving the permit UP 2027 and category 17 and categorical exemption CE 2022-25 to allow alcoholic beverages sales on-site consumption in an existing restaurant. Or you move to deny Resolution PC 2022-4 and direct staff to prepare appropriate findings or move to continue the item and provide alternate direction to staff. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any questions of staff at this time. Commissioner Stewart,
No questions.
Commissioner Williams,
No questions.
Commissioner McCarrick,
Thank you, Chair Wilson. I do have a question, but it's for the applicants, so I don't know if that's now or later.
is the applicant in the room?
Yes, they are.
Would you please ask the applicant to come to the podium and answer Commissioner McCarrick's queries?
Of course. She's walking up to the podium now.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. Thank you so much. Just a quick question in regards to the drive-through. Do you guys plan on using it? Is it a way that people could drive out of the restaurant or the parking lot? Or do you guys just plan on putting up like cones that say, don't drive out this way?
So it is a way sometimes people go through there and exit the building. We do want to eventually fix it, but there's no one here in Lake County that does it now. So we're working with the landlord to hopefully get someone pretty soon, but maybe it's going to take 2-3 years to do that. So eventually we do want to fix it and make it an actual drive-through.
You know, if people are allowed to use it, like the only reason I ask is let's say people are drinking, right? And I think it's great. I think, the restaurant has the ability to have a liquor license. But if people are drinking, would it be, this is maybe maybe it is a staff question. Is it better maybe to have 2 exits? Is it worse to have 2 exits? Does that make sense? So I'm just curious about that.
I think sometimes it could be better because when we do get pretty busy there, a lot of the times they'll circle around and go that way, or they'll circle around and go the way where I think it's Adventist Health parking lot. So I feel like it is a little better because they don't get all like crumbled up in one single space. So
Okay.
I think it is a little better.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Coker,
I have no questions.
I have no comments at this time. Are there any public comments on this agenda item? Is there anyone in the chamber?
There are none.
Are there any public comments on Zoom or on the phone?
There are none.
Have we received any emails or written comments on this item?
We have not.
Thank you. Public comment on this item is now closed. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any further comments for deliberation at this time. Commissioner Stewart,
No further comments or questions.
Commissioner Williams,
I have none.
Commissioner McCarrick,
Nothing further, thank you.
Vice Chair Coker.
I have nothing.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion on item number 1.
Okay. I move to adopt Resolution PC 2022-24, a resolution of the City of Clearlake Planning Commission approving use permit application UP 2022-17 and categorical exemption CE 2022-25 to allow alcoholic beverage sales on-site consumption in an existing restaurant located at 15165 Lakeshore Drive, Clearlake, California, 95422, further described as assessor parcel number 040-330-460-000.
I
Thank you. May I
second.
have a second? Thank you,
I
Commissioner
second that.
Williams and Commissioner Stewart for your second. I will now take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Stewart,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner McCarrick,
Aye.
Vice Chair Coker,
Aye.
Chair Wilson.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 1 passes, and we wish you continued good business at your restaurant on Lake Shore. Item number 2, consideration of conditional use permit, CUP 2022-02, design review, DR 2022-02, and corresponding environmental assessment, mitigated negative declaration for the development of a plus or minus 75-bedroom hotel with meeting hall event center and the on-site sales and consumption of alcoholic beverages located at 6356 Armijo Avenue. Although not part of the above planning applications, the extension of 18th Avenue was evaluated under the related environmental assessment. May we please have the staff report?
Yes, you may. Good evening, everybody. So we're here to hear the conditional use permit 2022-02 in the 18th Avenue Extension Project. So a little more about this. This is for a 75-bedroom hotel, which a hotel is a use by right in the general commercial zoning district, also known as GC. So the main part of this is the CUP, which is to allow the on-site sales and consumption of beer, wine, and distilled spirits for a 47 for associated events or operations that go along with a hotel operation. The 18th Avenue extension, so we're here for tonight. The commissioner's review of the improvements to 18th Avenue is going to be limited to evaluating the environmental document itself, since it's just an extension from 53 to 53 of the 18th Avenue. The environmental analysis included the project overall, including the hotel, the ABC license, the CUP 2022-02, and the impacts of the extending the 18th Avenue as a project as a whole, as we're required to by CEQA. So a notice of intent was sent out on 10/26/2022 through 11/30/2022, and we have received comments from Caltrans, Environmental Health, and the local water district, and those comments or concerns that they've had will be incorporated or have been incorporated as mitigation measures and or conditions of approval. One of the largest commenting agencies was Caltrans, and their concerns will be addressed when encroachment permits are applied for, which is a condition of approval as well. So their concerns will be addressed during that process. So this is just kind of an overview of the project site. So you can see the project site in red is the hotel. You'll see in the northern part there's the cluster of trees. Most of the development will occur in the southern portion of it where it's more open and vacant land. Then you can see in blue the 18th extension from 53 to 53 to kind of give you a preliminary idea of the locations of the projects and the improvements. So this is just more for concept plans to kind of give you an idea of what the hotel will look like and the site plan. So you can see you have the parking. The hotel will be in the front, then on the back end of, if I can do it, in this area right in there will be like the meeting hall convention center that's kind of separate from the hotel. And these are just some concept elevation plans of what it could look like. So our options tonight is to adopt resolution PC 2022-26, or you can move to deny the resolution PC 2022-26, or move to continue the item and provide staff with alternate direction. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them to the best of my abilities.
Thank you. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any questions of staff on this time. Commissioner Stewart,
No questions.
Commissioner Williams,
I do have a couple of questions. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. If we have EV charging spaces, are they just parking spaces or are they actually putting chargers in?
I think they're just parking spaces, but I can confirm that with the developer since it's kind of a preliminary concept site plan. But I know they do have to intend to have both for EV and parking.
Okay. And then I know the architectural plans show 53 feet high, and we're saying max of 50. Are we getting new architectural plans, or that's just, it's part of the conditions of approval and it'll get taken care of in?
So they'll have to adhere to our height requirements and everything. So if they are, since they're going to be limited at that 50, the final plans would have to be reduced to meet our requirements.
Okay.
But for tonight, since the hotel is a use by right, it's more focusing on the ABC license with the CUP and the environmental document itself.
Okay. And then I know the 18th Avenue extension, we're just looking at it, as far as that'll come before us later. But I do have a concern about where it comes out right there by JKL Market or JK Market. Because we just approved all the upgrades to that lot. And there's a left turn lane if you're going southbound, but there's no left turn lane if you're going northbound. And how is traffic going to get across 53 into the JKL Market with all the upgrades that they're going to be doing? That was a concern that I had with where 18th is coming out right there. But those were the only questions I had.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Yeah, discuss those 18 and 53 issues with staff. It's not part of this item. Then Commissioner McCarrick.
Thank you, Chair Wilson. My question is, and it might just be semantics, it might just be typing, but in the CEQA document itself, section 18, it says tribal cultural resources as opposed to the section that is just cultural resources, but in the conditions of approval, it just says cultural resources. So I just want to make sure that attention is brought to the tribal, because they are two different things, of the tribal cultural resources in there. And so it might just be like a slash tribal, like an edit for that. It just, I noticed in the conditions of approval that when other ones actually have said tribal, this one didn't. So I was just curious about that.
That can be corrected with just doing cultural/tribal, because typically when we do conditions of approval or mitigation measures, it's the same mitigation measures or conditions that would go for cultural or tribal. So that's why we just usually do cultural/tribal in the conditions of approval.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just know in some of our previous conversations at the Planning Commission, there has been a conscious conversation about them being different, and they are different in CEQA. And then my other question was, I don't know if I missed it in here, if there has been a tribal consultation, and then also if there has any part of the environmental documentation said that the water district said that they could meet the needs of this project with water conservation measures, but I don't know if from the applicant, I did not see any specific water conservation measures. I'm just double checking. I was just curious about that.
So for the, could you repeat your first question?
Sure, I noticed there was something about, I was wondering if a consultation had happened, and then the second one was about any water conservation measures from the applicant.
So when the initial study was sent out for the 30-day review, it was sent to all agencies, and we didn't receive any comments or concerns from the local tribal organizations. And then for the water district, in regards to water conservation, that would be more of the applicant coordinating with the local water district, but it's going to be, as part of their conditions, they're going to have to meet all their applicable requirements for connecting to the proper water district itself.
It just, the application or the summary made it sound like they were going to go above and beyond, which is great because hotels can use a decent amount of water. So if they had anything, or if they, maybe one of the conditions of approval would be to state what those water conservation measures would be.
So since it's more of like a preliminary, so the hotel is a use by right, so we need to remember to keep with the ABC license, the conditional use permit. And even though it was analyzed in the environmental document itself, I think we need to be careful about conditioning a use that's technically a use by right. But when they hook up to the water, they're going to have to meet all applicable requirements, and going up and beyond now, since those are just preliminary concepts, we don't have all the details of all their plumbing and electrical systems.
Yeah, the only reason I bring it up is because the Canocti Water District had said that they were going to take conservation measures. So while it is a use by right, if it is dependent on the CEQA documentation and the mitigated negative declaration, just making sure people stick to what they're saying.
So yeah, I mean, part of the conditions of approval is they're going to have to meet all applicable requirements, and that would be between the applicant and the water district.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McCarrick. Vice Chair Coker, do you have any questions of staff at this time?
I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you. I will open the item up for public comment. Are there any public comments on this agenda item? Is there anybody in the chambers that wishes to speak on this item?
There are none.
Are there any public comments on Zoom or on the phone?
There are none.
Have we received any written or emailed comments on this item?
We have not.
Thank you. Public comment on this item is now closed. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any further comments or deliberation on this item. Commissioner Stewart?
I'm sorry, would you repeat the question, please, Chair?
Yes, we've closed public comment, and this is now, I will now ask each commissioner if there are any further comments for deliberation on this item. Commissioner Stewart?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams?
I have none.
Thank you. Commissioner McCarrick?
Well, one more follow-up question. So they, even though
So as part of like when a mitigated negative declaration, there's fish and game fees that are due. So that's essentially for obtaining approval, would be paying the required fish and game fees for the mitigated negative declaration.
Okay. I've seen it a couple times pop up in the document, and when I went out to look at it, the topography is a very interesting. It's a depth of topography. I know that we're just approving if they can get an alcohol license or not, but I'm just checking to see which agencies are involved in this. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner McCarrick. Vice Chair Coker, do you have any comments for deliberation at this time?
I do not, thank you.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion on item number 2.
I move to adopt Resolution PC 2022-26, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Clearlake approving conditional use permit CUP 2022-02, design review DR 2022-02, and recommending approval of a mitigated negative declaration based on initial study 2022-06 for the development and operation of a 75 plus or minus bedroom hotel with meeting hall, event center, on-site sales and consumptions of alcoholic beverages on 2.8 acres of 6356 Armijo Avenue, Clearlake, California 95422.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Stewart?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner McCarrick?
Aye.
Vice Chair Coker?
Aye.
Chair Wilson?
Aye. Thank you. The motion passes. Item number 3, consideration of conditional use permit application CUP 2022-03, processing, no cultivation and/or nursery activities will occur on site. CUP 2022-04, manufacturing. CUP 2022-05, distribution. CUP 2022-6, retail dispensary delivery only. Development agreement, DA 2022-02, and corresponding environmental assessment mitigated negative declaration, CEQA IS 2022-02, to establish a commercial cannabis operation located at 2160 Augulin Canyon Road.
Madam Chair, I must recuse myself as I live and work within the sphere of influence.
Thank you, Commissioner McCarrick. May we have the staff report, please?
Yes, we do. Give me 1 second to pull up the PowerPoint. Okay, sorry about that. For some reason, it closed on me, so I had to reopen it to do screen share.
Sure, thank you. Take your time.
All right, here we go. So tonight we're here to hear about Oglen Estates Holding for a commercial cannabis operation located at 2160 Oglen Canyon Road, also known as APN 010-044-21. So this is just kind of an overall project map. The red dot indicates the location of the project parcel. It just kind of gives you a reference of that area for where it is located. So permit request. So the permit request currently is for processing, which includes no cultivation or nursery. It includes retail dispensary, delivery only, manufacturing, and distribution. So there's going to be two phases. Phase one is going to be consisting of the remodel of a 960 square foot metal building, and phase two would be to construct a new 5,000 square foot cannabis facility to be used for, the cannabis distribution, retail delivery only, the manufacturing of non-volatile extractions, and processing, which is the drying, curing, trimming, and packaging of cannabis byproducts. So a little bit more about this project. Originally, this project was much larger in size. And the original project that was evaluated under the environmental analysis, which I'll get to in a couple minutes, included approximately a 33,600 square foot metal building for cultivation activities, 5,000 square foot office building, 75 by 25 greenhouses, and approximately 46 parking spaces. Since then, the applicant has reduced the project significantly in size to include the 960 square foot building, the 5,000 square foot building, and approximately 8 parking spaces. I just wanted to show in reference of how much the project has changed since submittal. So this is just a site layout of existing and proposed of, of how the project will be. It's more of a reference point. It's kind of hard to see on here, but it's also included in your staff report packet if you need to refer to that to be able to zoom in and reference items better. So this is the 5,000 square foot building. Then within that building, it's going to be, broken up into offices, bathrooms, and secure storage area, the processing, the packaging, and the storage area. So it's all going to be a shared area, but individually stored within that one building. So CEQA. So as I was mentioning earlier, staff, since this project was much larger when it was originally submitted, and since the project was downsized, in accordance with section 15073.5 of the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA guidelines, the city has determined there's no need to recirculate the initial study or mitigate a negative declaration based on the reduction of the project. So for the notice of intent, it was published in the local newspaper. It was also sent out to within properties within 600 feet, and the mailing addresses are obtained from the Lake County Assessor's database. It was also circulated to various federal, state, and local agencies for commenting for a minimum of 30 days. And the commenting period was April 4th, 2022 to May 13th, 2022, which is greater than the requirement. So for agency publics and comments, we didn't receive any public concerns regarding this project, but we did receive the following comments from the agencies. We got comments from Lake County Environmental Health, which is their generic comments they send to most cannabis applications, the California Department of Cannabis Control, the Lake County Special Districts, and the California State Water Board. So the only one that had additional comments was the California Department of Cannabis Control, but we were able to, send comments, or not comments back, create a reply, and most of all the concerns, or all the concerns, have been mitigated through the mitigation measures and conditions of approval. So we got 3 options tonight. We move to adopt resolution PC 2022-22, or move to deny resolution PC 2022-22, or provide alternate direction to staff. Also, the applicants and their representative are here tonight, and I believe they would like to make a statement as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the applicant to the podium to make a statement.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners, Madam Chairman, staff. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Richard Knoll. I'm a planning consultant from Lakeport, and I am here tonight with the applicants, Augulin Estate Holdings, LLC, Garrett Burdick, and Brian Pensack are in the audience. And I don't have a whole lot more to add to the staff report that has been provided. It is a substantially reduced scale project from what we originally proposed to the city. It's about 4/5 of what was originally submitted, so substantially smaller. And importantly, there is no cultivation being proposed at all, so that's not a component of the project. It's a phased project. The first phase will involve a small building, an existing building. As a matter of fact, I did not see this in the packet, so I don't know if you have actually seen the existing building. But this handout is in the information that you received. However, there is a photo of the existing building that might be helpful within the packet. I don't remember what page it is. This photo shows the existing building. Fairly attractive building. I think it was probably constructed as a shop garage on the site. And the photo on the back of what I just provided to you is just a representative sample of what the larger building, the 5,000 square foot building, the phase 2 structure may look like. Kind of similar to the other building. The only other thing I would like to say is that on the second page, the fourth page of what was submitted to you just now is a listing of the documentation and technical documents that were provided to the city. Sorry, I don't have a page number, but just to let you know, there was a fairly significant amount of information provided to the city, including site plans, preliminary grading plans, site management plan that deals with stormwater runoff and water quality provisions. A business plan was submitted, a biological constraints technical memorandum was submitted, a second biological resources assessment was provided, a groundwater hydrology report was prepared, a water availability report, groundwater hydrology addendum report was provided, well completion information, odor control plan, energy information, cultural resources report. We actually did a traffic study of several projects I don't know if we actually submitted that to the city, but that is available as well. I think we did. We also provided a security and worker safety plan, and then, of course, the CEQA initial study was prepared by the city. So a lot of background information provided to the city. We think it's a good project, much smaller than what was originally proposed, and we're here to answer any questions or concerns that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knoll. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any questions of staff at this time. Commissioner Stewart?
I do have a multi-part question for staff. And so what I'd like to know is how many currently approved cannabis projects do we have in the city? And how many are currently operating? How many are approved but not operating? And what would the total water usage be if all of these approved projects were in operation at permitted levels? So, you know, in the past with all these cannabis permits that have been requested, we've had a lot of blowback from the community about water usage. And even though this particular use is much, much less than was previously proposed, I still sort of have, there's still a bit of a concern and a question in my mind, because it seems to me that we've got a lot of approved projects out there that are currently not operating, and I have a concern about what's going to happen when they all come online and start operating at one time. And of course, as everybody knows, we're many years into a drought at this point, and sure, we've had some rain over the last couple of days, but that doesn't mean the drought's over. So staff, I can repeat any parts of that question if you need me to.
So that's going to be a longer aspect to getting all that information, because there's multiple projects that we would have to, to go through. But, out of the ones that have been approved, there are a handful that are operating, but off the top of my head, I don't have the exact numbers, and that aren't operating. And there can be, a number of reasonings of why one may not be operating. There could be, due to the pandemic, not being able to get building materials, or it could be, the cost of materials for what's going on, or other matters. But that's something we can gather and get to you. It would take more time than being able to answer all those questions in detail at this time.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. For me, I would like to.
Commissioner Stewart, will you turn your mic on, please?
Sorry, I thought it was on. Is it on now? Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate your input on that. I would like to have those questions answered. The other thing, quite honestly, is I've been reading a lot, as probably most people have that stay informed, that the legal marijuana industry seems to be on the ropes here in California. And so I'm curious, we've got, to the best of my knowledge, we've at least got 3 or 4 approved projects now that are not currently doing anything. And so, I don't know how much more property we've got available in the cannabis zoning thing for more operations to go in. And quite honestly, I'm not fully convinced at this point that the public, the citizenry of Clearlake is really completely on board with having a whole lot of cannabis operations going on at one time, should they ever all start. I mean, right now we're kind of in a situation where really it looks like nothing's happening because we've got all these things that are approved, but they're not doing anything. So anyway, I have some concerns about this that I'd like to reflect on a little more, and particularly the water aspect due to the previous comments we've received during other applications. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams,
I have no questions at this time.
Vice Chair Coker,
I do have one comment. I'm glad that they're doing the no cultivation. That's gonna save a lot of water for the Burns Valley area. So that's all I have to say about that. I'm just glad to hear that there'll be no cultivation.
thank you. I will now open this item up for public comment. Are there any public comments on this agenda item in the chambers?
We have one. We
Please
are
come to the
limiting
podium.
comments to 3 minutes.
Yes, 3 minutes. Please come to the podium and state your name.
I'm Dave Hughes. Madam Chair, I believe Ken Ling was going to email comments and have staff read them at this meeting.
That will
And-
happen after we address, after you speak from the
Madam
podium.
Chair, my point is, I'd like to know what he says before I make my comments. That could avoid duplication, and again, I'm either that or I'd like to be able to come back up after we hear his comments. But I thought maybe if we have his comments read into the record, then I know what he said, and maybe I don't have to duplicate it.
Yes,
mean-
please stay there. Do we have any emailed comments? or
We
written comments?
have none.
I
We
have
have
not
none.
received any public comments on this subject matter.
Okay, well, he said he was going to email one this afternoon, so, okay, that's fine. I think he was going to send it to the,
You have 3 minutes.
okay. And, okay, I'm not going to argue. First of all, I want you to know that I sent it to a water expert that we have hired in the past to focus mainly on the cumulative impact of projects in the Burns Valley watershed. Because of the short period of time that I had to email him the packet, and tonight I have no response from him yet. But in prior hearings, including a hearing at the Board of Supervisors on an adjoining property to this one, he didn't feel that the water expert they had totally dealt with the issue. So I wanted to throw that in, and Commissioner Stewart already hit on, I noticed a couple of times the sentiment of the community seems to support cannabis operations, and I'm not totally sure of that. I believe that the city council is and the city manager is, but I don't think the majority of the community supports it. With that said, I appreciate the fact that the applicant has removed the cannabis growing from the application. Obviously, that significantly reduces the amount of water they will use. I'm not sure what 102,000 gallons of water that's mentioned in the report from Angie Dodd. I don't know how that affects us, but I have focused on the cumulative impact of new uses versus the problems we have in Burns Valley Water Basin. And I do not believe that the cumulative impact has been properly diagnosed and handled in this report. And to me, the cumulative impact includes existing uses, prospective possible uses in the future, along with the applicant's use. So I don't believe that this accurately or adequately deals with the cumulative impact. The other concern I have is Burns Valley. If I'm limited to 3 minutes,
Thank you.
I have not even really started. I mean, this
Thank you,
is,
Mr. Hughes.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm going to keep talking because
Mr. Hughes, we are
Hughes,
limiting,
you have
Mr.
3
Hughes,
minutes.
we are
Mr.
limiting
Hughes,
the
you're gonna
comment
need
to
to sit
3
down.
minutes.
I can remember a time when Mr. Knoll stood up here after his time was up and said, I'm going to keep talking. And there are a number of things that
Hughes,
are
please sit down.
relevant to this application. If you want to call the police in and remove me, do
Mr.
it.
Hughes, please sit down.
I am
Your
not
few
going
minutes
to
are
sit
up.
down until I'm finished.
Can you turn off his mic? We're going to proceed. Public comment in the chambers is now closed. Do we have any public comment on the Zoom or on the phone?
No, we do not. Mr. Justin Searle just informed me we do not have any comments on Zoom or by phone.
Thank you. Public comment on this item is now closed. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any further comments for deliberation on this item. Commissioner Stewart,
None.
Commissioner Williams,
I just have a quick comment. I know this project has been greatly scaled back, and this property formerly was a kennels, and they boarded horses. I used to board my dogs there, and I know they used a lot of water when it was a kennels, just cleaning the kennels, watering the animals, keeping the horses watered. They had a grooming business there. This new project is cut way back, and compared to what this property used to be used for, now that they're not going to be growing, the consumption, well, yes, we have definitely been concerned about the cumulative. I don't see that the new use with having 8 employees and not growing is really going to use more water than it did when it was a kennel. So that's just my comments.
thank you, Commissioner Williams. Vice Chair Coker, do you have any further comments for deliberation on this item?
I'm just happy that there's going to be no cultivation. That's going to save a ton of water.
Thank you. I will now take a motion on item number 3.
I move to adopt Resolution PC 2022-22, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Clearlake approving conditional use permit, CUP 2021-03 through CUP 2021-06, and recommending approval of a mitigated negative declaration based on initial study, IS 2021-02, and development agreement, DA 2021-02, to the City Council for the commercial cannabis operation located at 2160 Ogulin Canyon Road, Clearlake, California, 95422, further described as assessor parcel number 010-044-21.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I'd like a roll call vote.
Commissioner Stewart,
Nay.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Coker,
Aye.
Chair Wilson.
Aye. The motion passes. Thank you. We're now at the portion of our meeting where we hear reports from our city manager, community development manager, and staff and commissioners. Do we have any reports from city staff?
And Commissioner McCarrick just rejoined us as well, just so you're aware.
Thank you. Welcome back.
In regards to updates, we're continuing to coordinate with applicants regarding the business license. It's been, unique going to the online portal system. So we're still working with applicants to get through that process and working with them on the late fees since they're transitioning into creating essentially a whole new account and getting them on board with that. And we do have we did have a 22 lot subdivision submitted. So we're waiting on the, revised plans for that so we can begin formally processing that information. And I received word today that I should be getting those items here shortly so we can begin the formal review process of that. Other than that, we're still processing various administrative use permits, lot mergers, as quick as we can, mainly the mergers, so we can have the applicants try to get them recorded before the end of December. That way it's in regards to taxes, they don't have to repay the entire tax roll if it's not able to be recorded by the end of this month. What else, Mike? That's it. I think that's pretty much it. It's kind of short and sweet tonight.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have any items to report? Seeing or hearing none, we will now move to the final item on the agenda. Does any commissioner have a request for future agenda items? Thank you to everyone who took the time to submit their comments and to those who are watching our meeting on Zoom and YouTube and for being in the chambers. There being no further business of the commission, we are now adjourned at 6:56 p.m. on December 13th, 2022.